Hello. Hello everybody, hopefully you can hear me alright. Right, so I'll just check to start with. I'll wait for people to get into the stream before I start doing any sort of questions and answers type things. It's set to the lowest latency, which still isn't instant. Cool, so you can hear me, excellent. And it's not going to be a 1 minute stream, it's an hour stream because it's 5 o'clock UK time now, and I'll be doing it to 6 o'clock UK time. Let me put GMT in the title so people know what I'm on about. There we go. Yeah, that's the L1A1 SLR, which is the British version of the FN FAL that was used from the 50s at some point to the 1980s. Hi Daniel. So as I said, I'm not going to really start answering questions yet. I'll wait for a few more people to get in. But I don't know if the webcam will focus on it or if the wire's long enough, but you might be able to see out there that there's quite a lot of snow if my hand doesn't block it. If it can adjust anyway to the... No, I don't think the exposure settings are going to show anything. Oh well, but there's quite a lot of snow coming down out there. So let me put this back. And let's see if I've got that in the right place. Yeah, you can see me there. I can see the camera. Yeah, there's no way I can really adjust the brightness on the fly. The brightness is obviously set up for me sitting in the chair, but I'm not streaming out the window anyway, but... Yeah, cool, I know obviously a lot of people are off work and school if they've got snow. Yeah, I saw in Ireland they've actually had about 3 feet of snow. We haven't had that much here, but the thing is in the UK they are never prepared for snow at civil defence sort of level. So as soon as you get any snow or the roads start closing, people start crashing their cars, and yeah, that's it. Yeah, I actually went out today for quite a long walk in the snow with lots of sort of Arctic surplus gear on, and yeah, that was quite good. But again, most people don't go out, so it's actually quite nice. You don't even bump into people because they're paranoid of the snow and the cold. Yeah, it's not too far off a metre here, I think, at this point. Actually, no, because a metre's more than a foot, isn't it? By quite a bit. But yeah, I'd say here we've got 7+ inches of snow now. If I go outside in boots, they could go well over the bottom of the boots. You know, so you actually need fairly tall boots on, like Wellingtons or actual old-fashioned military boots. What is a good price for an SHMS? It depends what country you're in. About £30 here. A bit less than £30, but I wouldn't spend loads on Soviet masks. When you say Bolshevik cap, do you mean the sort of Russian fur hat kind of things? Because I don't need to buy a GP5 because I've already got 2 GP5s, but yeah, other people could go and buy a GP5. Yeah, it's not that cold today, it's only about -1 or 2, but it's been -7 plus, or -7 minus even, a few of the days recently. Okay, YouTube's now telling me I have bad video settings even though these have been fine before. So I don't know what's going on with the video regarding that. So is the stream working for everybody? Because YouTube's telling me that my stream's red, not green, but it seems fine at my end. Okay, so it's just them coming up with a stupid warning for no reason. Okay. Alright, cool then, so I'm guessing, yeah, it's just for some reason YouTube's like, no, your stream's not very good, even though it seems to be sending it out fine. That's just because it's the headset mic. The volume, let me have a look at the volume control for it. But, I mean, I can turn it down if it's too loud. I can have it, like, at this level, which should be, you know, like, not as fuzzy or whatever, but, I have slow mode on because otherwise I'm not, because otherwise people spam their comments over each other and we can't read anybody's comments, so we need slow mode on because people can't use the comments section properly. No, I think the SHMS would be even buzzier. Yeah, that's a really old video, American Grease, the Nightmare Kazoo thing. One thing, we'll see if it works when this video processes, is they gave me a pop-up before I started streaming today that said apparently when people rewatch a stream now, the live chat will be actually on the side of it, so if I'm responding to a question, people can see the question at the time I was talking about it on the video, rather than me having to read out everybody's questions. But whether or not that works I don't know, because I haven't seen it yet. Hi Mike. Oh, Weapon Collector's Mike. By the way, anybody who hasn't seen his channel, I'd recommend his channel to everybody, because I really like Weapon Collector's videos. I support him on Patreon. And a lot of you that watch my videos will probably like his videos as well. No, Jelly, I don't work for the military. I do no military stuff whatsoever, other than I can collect a lot of the stuff and things. Nova Frostwalker Ovan, it can be a Q&A, but it's mostly I don't really care. We can do whatever on this stream. If we're going to do obviously Q&As, it's just sort of be sensible. But I didn't have a particular theme for the Q&A, so it's not like it's going to be only gas mask related things or anything else. Hi, and I've sort of answered this quite a few times on other videos, but I just got into gas masks because I like collecting militaria, and masks actually end up being a lot cheaper than a lot of other militaria, because like, as you can see in the background, there's like rifles. A lot of it's out of frame, but I've got like rifles and bows and swords and whatever else, but a lot of those are very expensive compared to gas masks. So if you're collecting like military surplus, gas masks end up being some of the cheapest things you can buy, and they look cool, whereas a lot of the stuff ends up being you know, like stupidly expensive. Mr. Mal, no, I haven't played Battlefield 1. I don't really have any desire to be honest. Maybe if it's on a sale really cheaply at some point I'll get it, but I'm not actually sure what the M80 is. It's not a mask I have in my collection, so I don't really know how much they're worth. I've really not that much interest in MREs, Teen Prepper, just because I think there's a lot of channels that do very good videos on MREs and they're too expensive to simply buy them to show off in a video. A lot of the places that sell MREs charge you like £10 to £20 for a day's worth of food. That's excessively expensive. Alright, cool, so it's an anti-tank rocket. But I don't know if all you guys heard about the thing recently where there was the air rifle thing, where they were banning air rifle videos and whatever else, because I did a video about that. But apparently YouTube has now issued an apology. How real that is, I don't know, because they've said they hired people to look for, you know, like violent videos, and those people flagged all the gun videos. So that's why they've been reinstated apparently. It is a bit worrying that their own staff don't know what their own rules are for YouTube. Yeah, Bonnie to cheat. The MC1 gas mask is fine, but the Czechoslovakian CM3 is the better version of that same mask. Mr. Mo, there's a couple of fallout bunkers. The government didn't make big civil defence ones during the Cold War, but there was a few designed for like military and government personnel. There's one, I think it's Calvin and Hatch, I think it's called something like that, that's not too far away from me. I keep meaning to go there and do a video at some point, but there's not that many that are open to the public. A lot have either been demolished or used for other things since the end of the Cold War. Dover Castle is meant to have a really big nuclear bunker, because the funny thing with Dover Castle was they built this gigantic nuclear bunker under all the World War II tunnels they had there, only to find a chalk in the cliffs and didn't stop radiation. So they had to abandon the bunker, but they wasted all this money like digging out and making a bunker only for it to be useless. No, Mike, I've not seen York's Brothers, however his name's pronounced, video on the air rifle ban. I'll have to have a look at that. I did hear somebody mentioning about the YouTube Union thing in your live stream the other day, but yeah, I haven't actually looked into that. Seems like it's still snowing quite heavily outside. I did try and show people on the webcam, but it just makes the brightness goes too bright and they can't see the snow. Yeah, Daniel asked for a shout out. Yeah, so there you go, there's your shout out. Alright, see you, SGE. Yeah, I think in the US they actually did a decent job, didn't they, of at least converting a lot of basements under big buildings into like bomb shelters and everything else, but they never bothered here, because the government's attitude here was, during the Cold War, let them die, and then anybody that's left you can put in your gulags, you know, for when there's nothing left of society. Bonnie, yeah, you should be able to clean the MC1 with cold and hot water and fine, but I'd say do lukewarm water between the two. What do you mean, Sir Hoovy, by £100 patch? Like one for a jacket? Depends what it is and if you really want it, but that seems quite expensive. Yeah, Mike, I think we've got quite deep snow, because I went out for a walk in it earlier and I had to have properly decent boots on, because, you know, the snow, it depends. Some places the snow is only a couple of inches deep. But where the wind's been blowing the snow, because I don't know if it's been the same where you are, but we've got really fine snow. That's like almost like dust, and it obviously builds up. But because that blows around really easily, it's where the wind keeps blowing the snow. You get in massive piles of snow now, so you'll sometimes walk in snow that's an inch or two deep, and then you're suddenly in snow that's, you know, not quite a foot deep, but it's getting really deep. Right, let me see what comments I missed. I don't have any trauma kits, Team Prepper. I've done a video now that I've scheduled for tomorrow and moved some of my other videos about, which is about cold weather gear, just because, obviously, looking out the window, you're going to need it at the moment here. But, let's see what I've missed. As for you, Strong Slav FD48, what is your most favourite Soviet gas mask beside the SHMS? Tough one. Probably, maybe the PMG. because the PMG is similar to the SHMS, it's optical and everything else. I mean, GP5s are fine, GP5Ms are better, but yeah, I mean, I really like the SHMS, but a lot of the others would be absolutely fine if you needed it. But yeah, the reason I like the SHMS, as I've covered before, is I think it does everything right. It takes the filter in a good place, you can see straight ahead, you can use it with rifle scopes, I mean that was its job, and everything else, whereas a lot of the other Soviet masks, I keep going on, that's a bit of a drawback. The Fallout player says, do you think that countries like the UK and the US should adopt what Switzerland's policy is? Everyone is issued a weapon and everyone is required to have a fallout shelter. I think the problem is in the UK, if you gave everybody a gun at this point, you'd have a civil war. I mean, I think Switzerland's got lots of very good rights for its citizens, but I don't think it would work if you just gave everybody those rights here. Also, they'd need to build a lot of fallout shelters because they're not going to be able to make many more fallout shelters here. Yeah, so Hoovy, if it's a patch from World War II and you want it, obviously pay for it, but personally that's not really the kind of thing I'd buy. Alex Grew says, how much snow is in your area? Near me it is around 3 or 4 inches. It depends. On some surfaces where the snow keeps getting blown off of it, it's only about 1 inch or 2 inches, and then in other places we're getting nearly 1 foot of snow. It's like where the wind blows the snow into fields, it gets really deep, and like, you know, bits where it's a bit of a wind trap, so the snow blows in and doesn't blow out, it gets really deep. But on some of the pavements and things, it's only about 1 inch. Mr. Mao says, can you... Oh, the problem is with this chat, as I've said before, it goes too fast, so I obviously have to keep scrolling back up. Mr. Mao says, can you do a little communist impression? It is okay, you do awesome impressions. You should make a video on all your impressions. Well, I suppose that's more like Russian or generic somewhere in Eastern Europe, because I don't think communists really had different voices than regular people, but I guess that's what you mean, like Soviet Russian. And they probably sounded nothing like that, that's how I imagine them. Toby Short says, I had snow like dust, but it melted and then refroze, now everywhere is covered in ice. Luckily there's not too much ice where I am, because when I was driving to volunteering back to and back yesterday, which is about a 50-mile round trip for me, the roads are all very safe to drive on. Not all of it had been gritted, but it was still very safe because it was more snow on the roads, not actually ice. But once we get a couple of days ahead of what it is now with all the snow, I imagine the ice is going to melt, refreeze several times, then you're going to have this horrible sort of ice sheets all over the road, everybody skidding around everywhere. American Greece, the Soviet SMG you're thinking of, the combat shotgun will be the PPSH-41, but interesting thing is the combat shotgun in Fallout 3 wouldn't actually work if you look closely at it, because the sections don't fit together properly, like where the magazine is and where the barrel is and everything else. It wouldn't actually work. Yeah, so it seems most of the UK then, from what people are saying in different places, is getting the really fine snow. Like I said, it kind of just looks like a dusty mist, but it starts landing on stuff very quickly. 1800 is in 42 minutes, Ian, because I'm going on UK time. So when the stream's going roughly for an hour. Fallout player, do you think the US should have cancelled the SR-71 program? So that's the Blackbird, isn't it, the SR-71? I mean, I know it was amazingly fast, but I don't know if it did much other than reconnaissance or bombing. I mean, it was interesting, but I don't know, again, how practical it was, because like all of these things, you get lots of prototype projects that are really interesting, but they hemorrhage a lot of money, and are they actually all that useful? Daniel says, do you have some World War II helmets? I have a rusted kind of outer shell of a World War II German helmet. I think it might be an M40. It's either an M40 or an M38, I'm not sure which one. I have the Swiss Stahlhelm from like prior to World War II, I think it is, which is like a Stahlhelm that's even bulkier. It's quite interesting, it looks a bit like Vader's helmet. And I've got some British World War II helmets, but some of them I'm not sure if they're Mark 1s or Mark 2s, and with the Mark 3 helmet I've got, it could be a post-war one, it's impossible to tell. Mr. Mouse says, as far as UK laws go, what are their stances on 22 long rifle? .22 long rifle is the easiest as far as I'm aware Section 1 firearm to get. In the UK we have Section 2 and Section 1 firearms. Section 2 firearms are pretty much shotguns. Section 1 are rifles. .22 long rifle is, as far as I'm aware, the only caliber of rifle you can basically get that you can get in semi-automatic. All the others have to be bolt action, or require some sort of action to be done per shot. Alright, see you, Daniel. The Fallout player, I have no idea when you say 30, when you're talking about Fahrenheit, what that actually is, because we use Celsius here, so I'm used to it in C, not F. So I know Fahrenheit's like kind of just shifted to one side with the temperatures. I'll start drinking some more of my coffee before it goes cold. Don't know, Mr. Mel. Totally depends, can I afford to do it or not, or will I have a reason to do it? Right, see you. Cancerous YouTuber number 4723736 says in Edinburgh the snow is extremely thick and all buses are cancelled as well as schools. Have you seen the pictures from Ireland? Because in parts of Ireland they've had snow that's so deep it's like 3 foot, and there's pictures of people standing in it and the snow's coming up to like here on them. It's sort of crazy. Sapphire Studios on 14 lenses will be glass because they're made the same way as SHM41s are. So Hoovy says, hey, what do you think of the Soviet military ways in World War II and how they killed fleeing friendlies? Well, I think the communists are complete scumbags, because basically what happened in Russia, for the people who aren't, aware of real history or believe in the kind of politically correct history, Russia went from being quite a bad system under the Tsar where most people were poor, then they went to communism where people were mass murdered on an industrial scale, but most people at least had some kind of, I guess, houses, tenements and jobs. But if you watch enough of my stuff, I absolutely hate communism. I find a lot of the history interesting, but the Soviets and lots of the other communist regimes are some of the biggest mass murderers in human history. The body count for communism in the 20th century is probably over 100 million of innocent people just murdered by them. Right, what have I missed? Mr. Mel says, coffee, the drink you drink too early and you regret it, or drink too late and cry 5 minutes. What do you mean by that? What I normally do is don't have coffee past a certain time. This is kind of my cut-off time for coffee, because I find I sleep better if I, stop taking coffee after a certain time, don't have any caffeine past a certain point. Maybe something like green tea or something that's very low in caffeine, but Kian, I think World War II is a lot more interesting than World War I because it was a far more mobile war for the most part, and there's a lot more actual technology kind of being advanced at that stage. Fallout Player says, you guys got many ice fishermen out in the UK. I think they do have a lot of people in the North Sea that do it, but again, I've not really read too much into it. Yeti195, my day's been absolutely fine. I said to people earlier, I actually went out in the snow. Because, yeah, why not? Why it's here if you've got the clothing to go out in it. Usually it's too hot or too cold is the point. Oh, I see what you mean with coffee, where the thing is, if coffee goes cold I can still drink it. I really hate a cup of tea. If a cup of tea gets to the point where it's lukewarm or colder, it's just the most disgusting thing ever. But right, finish that off. Most people here, I think, like Monty Sapphire, but I don't do a massive amount of reading into the different World War II generals and things like that. Weapons Collector says, I love your accent impressions, but did trolls complain when you did the US National Anthem that time? Some people did. A lot of Americans thought it was funny, but I did have some Americans saying you're disrespecting all the people that died for our anthem, because weirdly I thought if you fought in the army you weren't fighting for the anthem itself but the country and kind of the geopolitics of the country, but apparently according to some people you actually fight for the anthem itself. So if you go doo 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 doo, that's really offensive apparently. But you know, I wouldn't care if anybody did that about the UK anthem. Joe Harris says, how's the snow where you are? Yeah, it's getting heavier actually. Again, I don't know if I can adjust the brightness easily on here. Let me have a quick look, because if I can turn the brightness down briefly, and then I can show you I don't think I can, unfortunately, with the streaming thing, because I think it's like an auto exposure thing that won't adjust for the outside, but have a quick look. But oh, I can adjust the brightness. Okay, let me turn the brightness and contrast down a bit. Now let me put it out the window again and show you, and maybe you'll be able to see all the snow coming down. Yeah, you should be able to see it. It's kind of like a mist, but you might be able to see out there that there's lots and lots and lots of snow actually building up on top of things, especially in areas where there's enough sort of wind and everything to do it. But as I was saying earlier, it depends how the sort of, you know, snow is being blown. So right, if that contrasts alright, I'll leave it like that for the stream. No, I've not played Fortnite. I heard that's a game again that's got loads of microtransactions in and everything else. American Greece, I've gone over this a load of times. There's no such thing as a World War I urine rag. They actually used proper chemicals in the masks, like the pH mask. Apparently some soldiers did piss on rags and put them over their mouth as a last resort, but ammonia does not actually stop chlorine. Yeah, the thing is, Fallout player, I definitely agree with the Stolen Valor thing, because that's like, I never actually, unless I'm doing a camouflage test, I'd never actually go out dressed, like even any of the defunct nations, you know, even in their uniforms. Because one of the reasons I didn't buy 4MTP until now is because it's the current sort of uniform the British Army uses, so I really don't want to go around wearing that. But obviously if I was doing a camo test I would, but for the most part, yeah, I'm normally, if I'm wearing something with camo on it or sort of uniform, I'd have a 50-50 that and other civvy clothes on with it. Joe Harris, the deactivated SLR was, I think, £395 maybe, but I bought that years ago, and since the gun laws have changed here again for deactivated guns, so it's one of the ones that I can't sell unless I had it altered, and then they'd have to destroy it even more, so the prices are a bit funny on it. I get my deactivated guns from D&B Militaria. You just Google that, you can find them. So if you're interested in their deactivated guns, or you're interested in deactivated guns and stuff in general, look on their site and see if there's anything you like. But over time they've made deactivated guns more and more thoroughly deactivated, because people go, oh no, they're reactivating deactivating guns for you know, shooting people. Julian, I'm not all that interested in Metro because I'm not a massive fan of the other Metro games. I've kind of explained this before, but when I play games I like the kind of more open world RPG type ones maybe, or not necessarily RPGs, but I'm not a fan of cinematic games. I know the current Metro one though is meant to be a bit more open world and everything, but I'm not saying the Metro games are bad, but they're not the kind of games that appeal to me. The reason I like Stalker a lot more than Metro is kind of because it's a lot more open world and do what you want. Marcus, you could make a particulate filter just out of cloth type stuff if you layered it up enough times, but obviously you'd only be able to make it to about a P1 or P2 efficiency. P3 particulate filters are like HEPA filters, they're kind of quite complex. Sticks and Stones Media, if you wanted to actually make a prop filter, the easiest thing to do that doesn't do anything is get one of those Chinese filters. You might have seen my video where I refilled it and I got all the charcoal in my eyes. Just get one of those, open it up, empty it into the bin, seal it up again, and you've got a filter that's got nothing in it, it's just empty, that you can breathe through just fine, and you could paint it or whatever. Yeah, I've heard of Gorillaz, Mr. Mayor. I haven't listened to any of their stuff. I think the bloke who did Gorillaz did a new album, didn't he? Not too long ago, but I've not actually listened to it. Sapphire Shooty says, I just wanted to thank you for your informative channel. A few months ago I almost purchased a GP5 and PB5. Which one's a PB5? Do you mean the PBF? And I would have worn them a lot. Now thanks to you I know about solid filters. Well, good. That's one of the things I want to actually you know, try and get people to realise is that a lot of these filters aren't safe, and while I find gas masks really interesting to collect, you know, it's kind of a bad idea for your health to just breathe through any of the old filters. Kyan says, if you could have any military job, what would you do? I don't actually know, because I find a lot of the NBC stuff quite interesting. I find the thing quite interesting where they have the guys in the really robust NBC gear or CBRN gear, and they have to go inspect like chemical sites. That's quite interesting, and I'd find that quite interesting. But that'd be a bit of a dodgy job, to be honest, because slightest leak of something through your suit and you could be dead in a few seconds. Yeah, I'd agree with you, Russian Red Medic, as well, but there's a big difference between wearing parade uniforms and wearing, you know, like the actual combat uniforms, but I still don't like wearing active duty combat uniforms. Especially because in like the UK, I think they've mostly got rid of parade uniforms now, and it's the exact same thing. They parade the soldiers a lot in the camo. But yeah, I mean, I've worn my East German like parade gear stuff because it's a defunct nation that doesn't exist anymore. It's just a bit of a laugh, but yeah, for the most part, that's obviously one of the things. Kieran, how much would a deactivated AK-47 be? It's going to depend if you want an actual Russian one or one of the other Warsaw Pact ones or any of the other countries that use AKs and conditions, but sometimes you can get AKs for like £100 to £200 for the not very good model ones, and then for a lot more you can get some of the like really nice underfolder type ones, you know, in really good condition. But again, it depends a lot on condition and nation that made it. Sahuvi, I was going to go to Chernobyl a couple of years ago, but the Ukrainian civil war happened, and obviously that's out the question now. A lot of holiday companies won't do things to Ukraine anymore because of that. Richard Tricky Dick Nixon. Richard Tricky Dick Nixon, what's your most sought after gas mask? Probably, that's probably not a very even good Nixon impression. Well, out of the ones I've got, my XM28 is probably my most interesting one, or the C7. Out of ones I want to get, I'd really like to get an M40, but the M40s, unfortunately, whenever I've seen them on UK eBay, when they do turn up, are well over £100, and I think that's excessive for what they actually are. Russian Red Medic said, if you could join the military, would you? It totally depends. If it was like my country was under attack, then yes. If it was to go kill people in another country for oil, then no. Wizard said, I thought nerve and blood agents were quite the same thing, but they are not. No, blood agents are cyanide and arsenic based vapours that when they get into you, they kill you through the bloodstream. Nerve agents are basically like insecticide pesticides that disrupts your body's ability to communicate with itself. So nerve agent stops the nerve cells in your body, you know, talking to itself, so you start losing control of your muscles, you know, lose control of your heart, your breathing, stuff like that. Nerve agents basically kill by blocking the body being able to communicate with its own parts. Steve Loves Capitalism says, would you recommend a PMK2? Well, I don't have a PMK2, so I don't know. I have a PMK1 and don't like it. Mariah, if I've pronounced that right, says, are gas masks good against volcano ash? I don't see why they wouldn't work against it. If you got an ABEC P3 filter, it would filter out the smell of sulphur and everything like that, and a lot of the chemicals in smoke. It wouldn't necessarily deal with everything in the smoke, but it's a lot safer than not having a mask. I know there's that island near Japan where everybody legally has to own a gas mask in case of, like, sort of vapour eruptions and smoke and stuff like that. Mr. Mouse says, you seen that video of the kid putting on the British World War II gas mask? He kept saying it was worth millions. I believe he received a lot of criticism for breathing through the blue asbestos filter. No, I've not seen that, but you know, that's a stupid thing for him to do, and of course it's not worth millions. I mean, the problem is there's some people you can tell them that that's got asbestos in, they won't believe you and they'll continue breathing through it anyway. But yeah. Lee Hart asked, any snow review? Yes, there's a lot of snow. Let's see if I can point that out the window again if it's still visible with the current camera settings. You might be able to see some stuff going in front of that red shed over there. That's like the really fine snow. So yeah, I'm getting snow of maybe up to a foot in the deepest places here. Most of the places are a couple of inches deep. Let me make sure my webcam's, yeah, that's centered again. So Hoovy, I'll probably stop adding people on Steam. Maybe the people support me on Patreon, but I've had a lot of people add me on Steam who then non-stop, you know, keep PMing me and giving me dodgy links and things like that, so no, I don't think I'll accept more Steam invitations from random people. It's not necessarily a Q&A thing, it's just whatever people want to chat about in the chat, really. Who sells the filters saying you can use them, Julius? Did I miss a bit of your message there? Richard Tricky Dick Nixon asked me, and everyone says, what do you think about Tiger Stripe camo, the original kind, not the Air Force stuff? That's really cool. The Vietnam Tiger Stripe one is really cool. Yeah, I like the old Vietnam Tiger Stripe. I think one company does repros of that now that's quite good. Because I was looking at a few reproduction camouflages, but there was one I quite liked, but they were charging a stupid amount for it. Oh yeah. There's a company that's doing a repro of all the Rhodesian camouflage patterns, so I was really tempted at some point to get a Rhodesian camo jacket, but most of the places doing that at the moment want like over £100 for the repros of that, so you know it costs far more than brand new camouflages from other companies, so I wouldn't pay that for it. Yeah, Steve Loves Capitalism. You're gonna get people like that that keep saying, you know, you can get these super common masks are very rare and great. Space Boundary, you're gonna do a thermal video again. You mean with the camcorder, the IR? I've done some other IR videos that aren't live yet. I mean, this is very primitive IR on a camcorder like this. Let me just get this one. But yeah, if you can see that through, it's probably going to be too bright, isn't it, for the, if I hold it back, is it visible? I think, Unfortunately, yeah, you're not going to be able to see anything on there because the screen is simply going to be too bright for the webcam. But yeah, I will do more IR videos. I was saying to Mike on his stream the other day, I'm quite tempted to buy for about £100 on UK Amazon now. A couple of companies do quite good IR stuff where you can put an SD card in and take videos and photos, you know, the ones that you can see a couple hundred yards with in pitch black. So I'm tempted to probably get one of those fairly soon and actually go out looking for owls and things and look at foxes and like rabbits and badgers and stuff in the dark. Sapphire Studio says, super random, but what would you do in the event of a UK civil war? Well, it totally depends on what's happening in the civil war. Because you have to be very careful what you say in this country about stuff like that, I won't say anything more than that, because otherwise they'll be kicking my door in. Julian, other than sending him asbestos reports and telling him that these are real, there's not much you can do. Yeah, I wouldn't really know how you could stop people. Like I said, I've had a lot of really dodgy sellers have a go at me before for trying to tell people that these things are, you know, safe or not safe, but MTP Tiger Stripe sounds really cool. Yeah, Kira, I've seen that picture of that wedding somewhere, I guess near the Soviet Union, where everybody's got PMGs on. Yeah, I like Brent0331's videos quite a lot. He does the ones with all the different camos, yeah, and he's done a couple of videos on the Rhodesian brushstroke ones that you can get. One of the camos I really old like is the British brushstroke, or whatever it's called, brushstroke or brushstroke, which is quite a cool old camo. It was like a World War II and 1950s camo Britain had, but again, nobody does repros of it, and the originals cost like so much money that you could buy, you know, full sets of every other camouflage for the price of just one bit of the original jackets, and then a lot of them are really faded and tattered anyway. Space Boundary says, hey Liam, what do you think of war propaganda? War propaganda in what sense? I like a lot of the old propaganda posters, they look cool. But obviously, if it's lies, it's lies. The ones Fallout player that I've seen in the UK that looks quite good are called Night Fox 80s. I think if you actually search Night Fox 80R or something into YouTube, you can actually find a video of one in use, but all the reviews on Amazon seem good and people saying you can see well over 100 yards with it at night. There's quite a few, but I was definitely going to go for a monocular type one, because I've seen some that are like binoculars, but they've only got the one sensor at the end anyway, and they use a lot more batteries for about the same, you know, like range and everything else as the other one, so... The Heart says, if you PM me an address, I'll send you some new filters. I have a large backup, thanks for the offer, but I've got a lot of spare filters now in my drawer, so I have no need for more filters. Space Boundary says, by the way, is a pellet gun legal in the UK? Yeah, pellet guns, air rifles are legal as long as they are under 12 foot-pounds of power, which basically means if it has less muzzle energy than that, it's totally safe. If it has more, it's considered a firearm by the law. Sapphire Studio says, have you ever thought about adding background music to your videos? Thought about it, have no interest in doing it. I've done it in a couple of videos, but you risk getting copyright strikes, even ones that are totally fraudulent, from people that you then have to sort out yourself, and I don't really see the point in it, because so many videos I've watched with music, people put the music too loud. Again, some people do it alright in their videos, but I've no interest in doing it myself. It's like when people say, why don't you have an intro? Because I personally don't like intros. The only person's intro I've actually seen so far on YouTube that doesn't annoy me is Weapon Collectors, because this is quite good. But lots of people do an intro that's really loud and you're just skipping through it like, oh, I'll watch the video now. From what I've seen Fallout player, a lot of the actual FLIR type night vision looks a lot better than Gen 3 anyway, because the issue is with Generation 3 night vision that although it amplifies light really well, it's still got very bad contrast, so you can't see people in camo standing against bushes. There's a lot of videos where people demonstrate FLIRs next to Gen 3 and the FLIR is always better because you can actually always see the heat signature of somebody, whereas on Gen 3 night vision, if they're wearing a camo, you're not going to be able to see really on a green scale that the camo isn't the background. Russian Red Medic says, do I play the instruments? I've got a piano there. I used to play it quite a lot. I don't play much anymore, so I'm not very good at it. I ought to play some more of it actually, but I've got a few other weird instruments, like I've got a couple of accordions, I've got a theremin, but they're mostly for messing about on. I can't play them properly. Right, what have I missed? Marcus Vlogs, no, I don't have a PO box, so at the moment I don't accept things except for 1 or 2 people I know I can trust for my address. Lee Hartwell asked what sparked my interest in guns. Oh, sorry, masks, even I'm reading several comments at once now. I said to a few other people it's mostly because I'm interested in all militaria, but the masks end up being a lot cheaper to buy, so you can get some really interesting and weird looking masks for not much money, and they don't take up a massive amount of space, although I've of course managed to get them to take up too much space now because I have so many of them, 70 odd masks, nearly 80 now. But yeah, it's mostly because they just cost too much to get other kinds of militaria sometimes. Yeah, the guns in the background, there's the small magazine Lee Enfield or short magazine Lee Enfield there, that's mostly out of frame, the SLR there. I've also got a Zastava, so a Serbian M72 RPK down there somewhere, a PPS H41, and I've got an M1 carbine on the wall behind me, or wall in front of me, which is behind the camera. It doesn't surprise me, Kian, if feminists are attacking old things. I don't pay much attention to them, I just get angry. I Let the Dogs Out says, hey, how hard is it to get a high-powered rifle in the UK? If you've got a justifiable reason for it, and you've got a gun safe, apparently it can be quite easy if you've not got a criminal record, but it totally depends on how enthusiastic you are to use it and whatever else. For somebody like me, I don't really want the extra costs and have to keep putting up with the police coming around every now and then to check my gun safe, so I've never bothered applying for a rifle licence. But for people who actually go out shooting, it's not too hard from what I understand, because you've got justifiable reasons for having it. Sapphire Studio says, what's your favourite mask carrying bag? I don't have it in the room so I can't show you, but it's the satchel my M10M came in. It's like some vinyl-y kind of fake leather stuff. It's a very big bag, it's got lots of pockets, lots of room in it, so it's a really practical bag. Thanks Legal Ad, you like the videos? Mr. Mail says, do you play Airsoft? This is a question I get over and over again. I'll make sure I do it, answer this in my Q&A series when I get round to it. Or my FAQ series. I've played Airsoft before. I have an Airsoft gun that's quite a high quality one now in my wardrobe, but the issue is arranging with friends to go on a day, you know, when they've got an Airsoft match on, and hoping the weather conditions and everything else are good enough, means that I've very rarely been airsofting, just because it's a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest, to actually sort that out and organise it. Space Boundary, hobbies, I do amateur dramatics in my free time and I play games, that's about it. There's a few other things I do, but nothing really that interesting. I did have a video, Julian, done by Jacob Dagger, who's a big collector from Australia. He did a video on the M40 and sent that in to me, and I put that up on my channel, but nobody really bothered watching it, so unfortunately I don't think there's much point in doing videos from other people, just simply because people purposely don't watch them if I'm not in them, which is a bit of a shame, but that seems to be sadly how it works for a lot of subscribers. If they see a video that's not something they're really enthusiastic about, they never watch it. Yeah, exactly. The thing is, like, airsoft, like a lot of hobbies, can take up a lot of your money, and if you're trying to be careful with your money and or budgeting and saving up for stuff, yeah, that's a more important way of spending your money. Yeah, I have shot actual guns before, Fallout Player, a long time before I've even done YouTube stuff, so I've not filmed it, but yeah, I've shot shotguns and things. He's Australian, so of course he's going to swear a lot. I've also shot, I'll mention as well, air rifles that are over 12 foot-pounds where I've had permission to use other people's ones, which are quite interesting. But yeah, I've not done loads of shooting of classified firearms, by UK rules anyway. CY No Brigger says, your thoughts on Russia's new ICBMs? I haven't been following it because I've said this to a lot of people, I don't actually watch news because the news, a lot of it is all BS and everything else, so I've heard they're demonising Russia again, saying the Russians have super new nukes and they're going to nuke us, so I just don't listen to any of it. Space Boundary says, is your airsoft strong and expensive? What do you mean by that, strong? Do you mean my airsoft gun? Good airsoft guns are normally £200 plus, then you're obviously paying for the day when you go out airsofting, which isn't too much, but there's a lot of factors with airsoft which mean you do run up more and more money, especially if you then start buying more accessories for it and whatever else. I wouldn't mind going, I definitely have said to people before Fallout Player, I'd definitely like to go to the US at some point. It's actually saving up to go there, because a lot of times I've been on holiday, I've been to Central and Eastern Europe, just because you can go on holiday there really cheaply, and I find the history of a lot of the countries really interesting. Whereas if you want to go to America, you're not going to get much in the way of dollars for your pound sterling, and a lot of the things are very expensive. Yep, that's the point. There's only about 8 to 10 minutes left, so if anybody's got any more interesting questions, make sure you post them. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see once this video's finished if the live chat actually does display on the video when the timeline goes on when I answer questions, because that's what I'm hoping it will do, because that's what the YouTube message said it's going to be doing today, but whether or not it does, I don't know. Oh, and I'll also throw in, I'm hopefully doing a live stream on Sunday. If it's at 5 o'clock, there won't be a 5 o'clock video, I'll move that to another day. If I don't get back in time, there'll be the 5 o'clock video, and I may or may not do a live stream depending on what time I get home, because we've had a lot of snow. I'm meant to be going over to my grandparents to help them shovel like snow off of their drive and stuff like that and get them some food over there. But it totally depends what time I get back regarding Sunday. Do you have any pets? Mr. Mail says, yeah, I have 2 rabbits and a budgie and a fish. I used to have some more pets, but a few of them have died. But yeah, I had to move the rabbits in the house actually today because it's getting so cold and snowy outside. I mean, the rabbits can put up with the cold. The main issue is that where the snow's piling up outside, the aviary they're sort of in, the snow's kind of just avalanching in. Starfire Studio says, is it worth buying Stalker? Yeah, I really like the Stalker games. Some people do not get on with them though, so get them if they're on Steam sale or something really cheap and see if you like them. The Fallout Player says, do you think that we should arm teachers to stop these school shootings? I think that could potentially work if the teachers have a good enough level of training to use a firearm, because I don't think they have to necessarily carry it loaded. Hickok45 did a really good video on this where he's saying that they could maybe have the pistol on the holster and like a magazine in a different pouch, you know, and then make sure the teachers get enough experience shooting pistols, so, you know, as a last resort they can use them, but, you know, as long as it's thought out. But again, there's a lot of debate that could go on that. C-Ride says, your thoughts on atropine and anti-nerve agents. Lots of things like atropine are actually a bit dodgy, in terms of they can have a lot of side effects, so they're kind of a last resort thing with nerve agents. You're meant to have the chemical gear on and a mask, and then only use atropine if you think you've been contaminated. especially against something like VX. You have to apparently use it within like a minute of coming into VX contact with your skin, and then your survival chances still aren't good. So I personally have no interest in trying to buy atropine and use it, because you can actually, from what I understand, give yourself a heart attack if you inject yourself with it wrong. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Mike. It'd be really good if that comment thing does work afterwards, particularly because then I wouldn't have to read out all the comments if I get loads and loads of them, so my voice might last a bit longer doing these streams, but we'll see if it works after this one. Kieran says, how much do Riot gloves cost? Anywhere between about £20 and £50, depending on what the condition is and how much the eBay seller wants them. They are really good for cold weather though, Riot gloves. Did I take them out of my rucksack? Because I had some when I went out for the walk earlier in the rucksack, but I think they might still be in the rucksack, so I have to get them out later on. I think there's been older videos, Sky Charm with my animals in. I'm not really going to do any more animal videos because most people on my subscriber list won't watch the video, and then YouTube will punish my channel for making content people don't watch, because that's the way YouTube works now. Right, see you, Marcus. Have fun in the snow. Space Boundary already answered that on the Q&A. It totally depends what time I get in. If I get in too late, there won't be a Q&A, and there'll be a regular video up at 5 PM. If I get in early enough, there'll be a Q&A, but I've got real life things I need to attend to, so that has to come first before Q&A. I Let Dogs Out, all-time favourite video game, Oddworld Abe's Exodus. Yeah, atropine is better than dying, as you say, Russian Red Medic, but it's not good in the sense of people saying, well, I'm just going to buy atropine and use it, maybe, because a lot of people end up going to kill themselves with atropine when there's not even nerve agent. It reminds me of all the stories of people managing to suffocate themselves in masks because they didn't know how to unplug the mask before putting them on. All-time favourite music album, Steve Loves Capitalism says, Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. Solarboard says, do you know if ballistic knives are legal? I think they're totally illegal in the UK. I don't know about elsewhere. Mr. Mail, I absolutely hate the Scott GSR because, I mean, it works if you get one in good enough condition, but there's lots of things that are just bad about it. My least favourite mask I've got, in terms of I think it's really bad design, is the Hungarian M74, but I'm sure there's worse masks than that. That's the worst one in my collection. Right, you're back, SGE 2007, but the stream ends in about 2 minutes, so... Yep, I know Ride the Lightning, because that's got... The album's got For Whom the Bell Tolls on, doesn't it, as well, and Call of Cthulhu, or Cthulhu, and a few of the other ones. Creeping Death. I have, if you have a look on my videos, John, I do have a British NBC suit. I have a Mark III and a Mark IV suit. I did a video not too long ago again on the Mark IV suit. They don't really work though because they're activated charcoal suits, so by the time they're on the surplus market they're long since expired. I'll just quickly show you something, hang on. You can get the Mark III suits like this that are still vacuum packed. This is the trousers in this section. I've got the smock in another one, but you can get them vacuum packed. They are vacuum packed, but they still tend to be kind of long since expired. SGE, get a PMG because it actually works. A GP4 has to be the exact same shape as your face, or it won't work because it doesn't have a peripheral seal. The Fallout player, that's the thing I don't like about the Taichem suit. It's a good suit to put on quickly, but it's crunch, 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 crunch whenever you walk around, or crinkle, crinkle, crinkle. It sounds like somebody's got a load of shopping bags and is doing that with them. Because, yeah, it's made out like tart material. But, yeah. So... I like that Polish NBC suit the most actually at the moment, the L1 suit, well the top half because I'd rather use it with fishing waders, but that's made of that kind of comfortable rubbery material that's lightweight so you don't sweat too much of it on, obviously, but I haven't worn it in the summer so I don't know if it's bad in the summer. It's got the elasticated hood so it fits around pretty much any mask you can wear with it. It's not one of the hoods that's designed for specific masks. Space Boundary says, can you survive mustard gas with only a gas mask and filter, obviously, without a suit? If you get out of there fast enough and the mask on, yeah. The main thing is mustard gas isn't very efficient at killing, but it can scar you for life. Because mustard gas is like a horrible skin-destroying gas, but it's not efficient at killing people. If it was lewisite, then no, because lewisite will kill you through skin contact eventually by, I think it's either kidney or liver failure, when the poison gets into your body. But mustard gas, you can survive without a mask, but you'd be scarred for life if you did. Without a suit, sorry. Right, we're at the hour, so I'll answer a couple of quick questions. Kieran, yeah, I actually like the Polish MP5. The guy speaking Cyrillic, sorry I can't read it, so I have no idea what you're on about. The Yugoslavian M52. Nope, I'll quickly Google Yugoslavian M52 to see which one they're on about. Oh, is that the... Oh, it's the one that's the British Mark IV gas mask, isn't it? But with a thread on it. Yeah, that looks quite cool. There's a Czech mask that's very similar as well. That looks cool, but I've never seen one for sale on the UK eBay. Alright, cool. So I guess that's everything then. I don't know if there's any pending questions. Yeah. Alright, cool. Yeah, I've gone over schedule, so yeah, see everybody, thanks for watching the stream, and there will be a stream on Sunday if I'm back in time. If not, there will be a regular video, so we'll have to play it by ear, so see ya.